Before we jump into today's episode, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Fortune Cookie Express. Fortune Cookie is a new halal Chinese takeaway on the West Road, some of the finest Oriental food and desserts in the Northeast, available for collection and delivery every day from 4pm to 12pm. Now, enjoy the episode.
Obviously, we're like the third generation, really, aren't we? Because like our parents were like, you know, they've still got the they've got the culture.
Are you third generation from your family?
I think I'm third generation.
Yeah, I'm on both your mum and your dad's side.
My mum's side, but that's like
I'm second generation on my mum's side and first on my dad's side.
So like your parents must be very involved in like the culture back home.
Yeah.
Which makes our culture like proper different.
Yeah.
And I think that's the importance of like asking that question: should we be patriotic?
Yeah.
Because like for me personally, I'm patriotic. Like I don't know, like it's a patriot. Like being patriotic is a like very broad word. Like you can be. I don't think I'd be patriotic to a country. I think I'd be patriotic to a culture.
Yeah.
And which is my culture, which I've been mixed with by being like, you know, Bengali.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, having my mum's culture and also like finding my own culture in this. I feel like we are like the lost generation.
Yeah.
Where we don't really know where we're at. The next generation kind of do know. They're British, really.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think my like, you know, like the next generation are even gonna even talk like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because the thing is, what I think about it is that like we're Asian, like you said, second generation, first generation, and what you're saying about the culture. So like you might have your culture from back home in Bangladesh, right, and like knowing all your boys back there. Yeah. But the thing is, you go to a school like St. Cuthbert's just down the road, and you're with like what? African, Asian, English, all this sort of stuff, and it's like staying true to your culture is such a hard thing. In the UK is what I believe, because essentially we're surrounded by all the like everyone else's cultures, so like it's hard for us. Really.
But I feel like there's a big difference between being a nationalist and being patriotic.
Yeah,
I think there's a big difference.
Yeah,
being a nationalist is like you agree with all like forms, like every legislation, every decision a country makes. You stick by it because you love the country.
Yeah,
which obviously there are people in the country that are nationalists.
Yeah,
I'm like against that. I feel like you can't be nationalist. I feel like you should speak with your own head. You should build your own culture. Yeah, you should know what you want. Like, and like, you know, I feel like being patriotic is just showing your love. So like, you know, in a football game, I'd show my love for England. I'd want them to win the World Cup.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because for me, I don't feel patriotic to England. Like I'm not just like, oh yeah, this is my pub, this is my street, this is like, I don't feel any of that. But even though I've only been home to India like 2-3 times, or even once when I was like 17, when I was actually like developed, I feel way more like involved with their culture rather than English culture. But the only thing that I feel like connected to is English football. So like in the World Cup, I don't think I'd ever support India because they're shit. And even in cricket, like I don't support India. I support England because like I've grown up with like England teams around me. Like in cricket, you don't watch, I don't know, like Durham play. You watch England play. In football, you might watch Chelsea play, but you're like the World Cup's the biggest thing. Yeah. So I feel patriotic to that, and it's a really big issue now because like British Asians finding their feet in Britain is kind of hard because like if you're Muslim and you're Asian, you can't drink. Like you can't drink. You don't like do all the cultural stuff. Yeah. So like obviously you're going to be like separated from British culture because you're not going to be going to the pubs. You're not going to go to nightclubs, things like that. So it's like what can you do? And from there, I feel like that's where there's a culture clash. Yeah, culture clash podcast. That's where there's a true culture clash because there's a lot of things in the UK that Muslims, Asians can't do. So they kind of stick together, and it creates this sort of like divide. I think.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it. And I feel like since we were children, really, like we've never fitted in. Like, and let's not only talk about our culture. Obviously, there's other cultures. Yeah. Like obviously, like being an African. Yeah. If you were African, you were the only boy in like old boys.
Now, I think it's like Romanian and Polish kids.
Yeah, and they're probably
they're the next thing because even now there's still like a stigma towards them when it really and truly there shouldn't be.
Yeah, there shouldn't be. Yeah, and that's the truth. Like we've kind of found our feet, but we've not found our culture. Yeah, and we're kind of creating it. So like that's why I feel like integration is such an important thing. Yeah, like with me, I don't listen to Asian, like you wouldn't call it Asian music that we listen to. Like even like the Essence or even like white people, like they're not people that are like that have the heritage here. They don't even listen to their own cultural music because like they listen to techno and they forget that techno is like Detroit made. Yeah, it's music. It's African folk. It's African folk, isn't it? Yeah, and it's made in Detroit.
Yeah.
So like people don't even like that's not even from the culture that they're from.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're shifting a bit from being patriotic to culture.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like when it comes to it, many people nowadays are up for like the country because the country's so integrated, like mixed.
But the thing is, right, you say that, but like last week, obviously at Monument, you saw those guys like probably like going for the police. I don't know if you saw the video. Where they're going for the police and they're like trying to save the statue. So obviously we had all the Black Lives Matters protests over the last few weeks, and now there's been like a protest against that. So you can see this kind of divide there, and that's where it brings in the question: should we be patriotic? Should, like, as British Asians, as Muslims, as like people who come from India, like we don't come from India, but our families do. Our background is: should we be patriotic? So did you ever think while you were growing up, oh, like I'm so glad I'm English, I'm so glad I'm British? Like, did you have that kind of like not snobbery, but like distaste towards other cultures and felt like you were better than them? Because that's what I kind of feel. If you're patriotic, you kind of have a little bit of that. If you're patriotic,
you're like a prejudice. Yeah, it's kind of like an unconscious prejudice.
Yeah,
as in like, oh, I am better than someone.
Yeah.
But the reason why I don't think I feel that is because if something bad happens in like Bangladesh, even though I've never like I've not been born there, I've been born here, and I've never like it's like I feel a bit of me there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
like the flood in 2010 must have been hard for you. And that's your mum and dad probably would be affected by that because they probably have like houses there or family there that are affected by it.
So it's like I'm sure it's the same with you as well. When things happen in India, like it'll be the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like I think I'm in like essence, you're probably a bit more patriotic to where you're from.
Yeah.
And like when you look into the history, I feel like when you look at history, like why are we even like here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like, if you think about it, I know we probably always mention like Winston Churchill and this and that, but like, you know, after the war, it was people from like India, Bangladesh that came over to this country to help rebuild it.
Yeah.
And like, you know, they got offered like a lifestyle where like you can feed your family and this and that.
They came over here really and truly to have a better life.
And I know, but it was kind of like false hope because it's like, you know.
Do you think? Because when I speak to my dad, right, he always says, you should be so lucky you're from the UK because in India, in Bangladesh,
but
Pakistan,
what's the reason for that?
It's so competitive.
What's the reason for that?
Getting to the top and getting out of poverty is so hard. Yeah. And obviously, like you could say, like the British Empire came and created that sort of poverty, but like we should be kind of happy that we're in the UK because we have the privilege, even though we might get like discriminated against. We like look at us. We create a podcast. We're spending time doing this. We're chilling. But like in India, it's kind of not like
we've got that opportunity. Yeah, and that's it. Like, but what I'm trying to say is like
that's what we should be appreciative.
Yeah, we should be appreciative of being in this country.
Yeah,
but
for what it gives you.
Yeah, for what it gives me, right? But that's something that I've earned to give. Do you know what I mean? So I watched this thing, right? It was about like. So Steve the Madman, when he started football, like when he was a young kid, his mum would tell him like, oh, like, you know, you're in this country, it's giving you opportunities and this and that. Yeah. They'd promote instead of his parents telling him like, oh, be a footballer, which he was because he used to play for QPR.
Did he? Right, I always thought this because he went on comments below once and he goes, I play for West Ham. Did he ever play for West Ham?
I think he must have been in the academy or something. But I know he played for QPR.
Yeah,
and he played semi-professional as well. They always wanted him to get a trade. Do you know what I mean? Because like in this country, and like, you know, when people were being racist to him, his parents would be like, oh, just leave it. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's not like you're here. Yeah. It's kind of like
you should be happy that you're
exactly.
rather than like fighting against
exactly. And you know how like in the 80s and the 90s, like football, there was black people didn't play for like the national team. Black people didn't play for like professional teams and this and that.
Yeah.
And that was the truth of it. So once the 90s came along, obviously there was a lot of racism still in football. Like most of the like, you know, Andy Cole and like Ian Wright and this and that, they'd
Dwight
say
York
that
as well.
Dwight
York.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They'd say like, oh, we'd let the racism slide is because like the reason why they'd let it slide is because like the opportunity that they gave us to even play football. Yeah. It's like, thanks for letting us play football. Now solve the racism.
Yeah, it kind of breeds a culture of like obviously what I just said about like you should be happy for your opportunity, but you're only like the reason Andy Cole would be happy, the reason Dwight York would be happy, the reason why I don't know the other guy that you just said, like why they're happy, like Steve the Madman, why their parents said that they should be happy is because their parents know what the problems are back home, and they feel like obviously racism's a problem, but it's not as big of a problem as if you were living in like I don't know Trinidad and Tobago, like India, wherever, like back home where there's actual societal issues with it for like money and everything like that. So that's why they kind of like are grateful. But now there's sort of a culture of like we helped build this country. Like everyone talk about make America great again, but when was America ever great?
Yeah.
So it kind of defeats that point of everyone who's being racist, the white people who've been racist towards Andy Cole, towards like all the black players during that time. It's kind of like you didn't create this country. It creates a privilege. It creates a privilege,
and that's it.
Yeah,
that's why we say like it stems from white privilege.
Yeah.
And like there's an element of like them being patriotic, through like being like, oh no, this is my country, not yours.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
like you should be happy that you're here.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That you're in my country.
Yeah.
And that's why I think a lot of people would say I'm not patriotic because
the actual people in the country don't accept me.
Exactly.
The way I think about it is that my parents, I feel so close to India, even though I've only been 3 times. I've been in this country for 19 years now, and I've only been to India for like 9 weeks of my life. Yeah. Like that's crazy. Like I've been for so little, but because my parents talk about it, my whole family talks about it. Like you feel like connected. They never talk about, oh, England's so great. Oh, look what happened in England. Or look what happened like down the King's Road. Like they never talk like that. But I feel like for white children or white people who grew up in this sort of society, they kind of get that. They kind of get the whole, oh, look how great England is. England created this. It's like they only focus on the good things. So when everyone's talking about that the slave trade should be talked about more in the curriculum, for British people in their minds, they're just like, let's breed like these children to just think England's great, Britain's amazing, and all these white people connect to that. So I remember I was in Discovery School, shout out Discovery School, the shittest school of all time. I got closed down after 3 years. Right, that school literally, when I look back at it, because of all this like Black Lives Matter thing, I'm just like, I was actually like racially abused there from kids who had white privilege. Like if nobody was born racist, but obviously their parents would be told like, we did this, we created this, we're great. Like all the other ethnicities are bad. But then these people at 15, 16 are being racist. Like it shows a lot about the way white parents teach their kids.
Even like without that, there's microaggressions that are around us. Do you know what I mean? Which stop me from being a bit patriotic.
Yeah.
Like someone would be like, "How do you say your name?" Do you know what I mean? My name's 2 syllabs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. How do you know how many people have said Hazma? Hazma, bro. HAMZA, right? And SAQIF. There's literally 5 letters, and you literally just put letters wherever you want,
wherever they want. Like I remember that.
Like when I say Jenny, I don't go Janice. Like, do I? Like,
and it's like I think the microaggression. Even I think the most recent time I felt a bit like not racist, maybe racist. I don't know how people would take it.
Yeah.
So there's this woman that was watching Love Island, and she just assumed I was black, right?
Yeah.
I used to work with that Moxie's, and she used to go, instead of saying my name, I've told her like loads of times, oh, my name's Sakif. She calls me Sharif, and she's like, oh, do you know what I mean? Because there was a guy called Sharif on Love Island, and I was like, and obviously Love Island was banging back then. And she was like, oh, there's a guy called Sharif. Like, she starts calling me Sharif. I'm like
you can tell it's not from like, when she says it, obviously that wasn't from like trying to be racist, but it's just kind of like, I respect you. I respect your values and your culture. Like you might think you've never, like nobody's ever said like Jane wrong or whatever her name is, like Mary wrong. But like that small little bit of like, if racism kind of hurts people.
No, but this is the thing, right? So we share a value of pronounce my name right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call you Janice when your name's Jenny.
Yeah.
And you're not going to call me Sharif because my name's Sakif. That's a shared value that we both.
Yeah.
There's no culture split in that.
Yeah.
But that, like, the reason why I'm saying like they differ is because they think like, because he might be from a different country, he just fits the name, and like that's a microaggression. It might not be like racially motivated, but it's like it's just more like, because I'm from like a different area, they don't see me as sharing that culture.
Yeah, because sense. It's like that podcast we did with Tom.
Yeah.
Tom. The podcast we did with Tom, it made me realize that these white people, they don't understand. They're not sympathetic because they've never had any of this, like people pronounce their name wrong, people judging them for their color, people like treating them differently because of what they look like rather than who they are. So it's like, that's why they do this sort of stuff. Like, and it's just embedded in their culture, and they don't think anything's wrong with it because they've never had to feel it. You know what I mean? And this kind of breeds like, why would we be patriotic to a place where people are like this? You know what I mean? So that's why we look at Bangladesh, we look at India, and be like, yeah, I love my country, even though we've hardly been there in our lifetime.
It's because they won't make me feel like, oh shit, you're an outsider.
Yeah.
And that's the truth, right? And like back to the point.
That's what patriotic means, really.
Back to the point where it was like, they say that, they don't want, like, obviously everyone. I'm not saying everyone's like that, but there's a majority where like they have that little privilege in them, like, oh, this is my country, like you're not even from here really.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to question yourself. Like I even question myself, why am I here?
Yeah.
I mean, and the truth is, the reason why I'm here is because, like, you know, back in the day, like obviously the Bengal famine happened. They exported so many goods, like even like the crown jewel we talked about in the first episode. That's even here.
Uh-huh.
They exported teas, and like people don't even know teas. Probably not even from like, do you know what I mean? I know it originates from China, right?
Yeah.
But teas from that area, like South Asia and this and that, it's not from England and things like that. They took that from like where we're from, and it's like they caused a big famine there, and you know then they started the partition, which obviously separated India into three parts, which is Pakistan, Bangladesh, and like
India,
thing today. And like then obviously my parents after the war, they got paid to come over here, and then they got forced into like, you know, what you call East London today, Tower Hamlets and this and that, areas like that. They condensed so many Asians into that poverty, like that area that was just filled with poverty today, and that puts us in a cycle where, like, you know, how are you supposed to get out? How are you meant to get out?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the truth of it. Like, yes, some people get out, and you know that's why people say like the opportunity is to get out. But it's like, you took me from one place to another to put me in level 0 while someone else is on level 10.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I need to work harder than 3 other people for that thing. Like I've said it even in the last podcast. Like when someone sees my name on a job application, they have to think twice about it.
Yeah.
Do you get me?
Yeah, no, and exactly this sort of stuff where it's like they crammed you all into one room, and then everyone has to go out and work. And obviously we have our own cultural values, so like maybe the women would stay at home, but then that means that there's one more like mouth to feed. Yeah. And it's like, because our cultures are so different, why would you feel patriotic when, like you said, you start at level 0 and other people start at level 10, just based on not who they are, but what they look like?
But I'm not even talking about me though. Like I'm talking about like our granddad. So my granddad, when he came here, like what I know, he was in South Shields, right? And they said before like any of my family came, my granddad used to share a house with like 8 other people, 9 other people, and one like in a 2-bedroom room, two bedroom house, right, with 8 other people. Yeah, like that's how they were put in. Yeah, right. People had to share houses like that because they couldn't afford it, because the houses weren't being given to them. Yeah, right. So he was there in an 8-bedroom, and now we've got our own house. Do you know what I mean? And like that's the difference. Like we had to work 40 years for this. Yeah, for me to even get my own house. Yeah. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Yeah, it's crazy. Like you have to, your parents probably, yes, your parents are, and you should be grateful for that opportunity that you've got now. Yeah. But you need to remember that your parents had to work another 40 years before they got you that opportunity. That's why I'm grateful to the country. Like obviously, I'm always gonna be grateful to my country and like, you know, where I'm from and this and that. But it's like I'm not patriotic to it, where it's like, you know, like where I'd die for it.
Yeah. Like honestly, I wouldn't, like if there was a war, I'd be like, yes, Keith, do you want to chop off like this knee so I can't go? Like I wouldn't make an excuse, because like really and truly, like why would I don't feel anything. Like it's not I don't feel like, do you feel anything towards England? Like when you if you went to Bangladesh and they're like, oh, do you like England? What would you say?
Of course I'd say yes. Like they even glorify the country. Yeah, like,
but they glorify it, but they don't know it. I feel like it's like us. Yeah. I glorify India, even though when I go there, I know it's a bit like I kind of want to come back to the UK. And like if you go to Bangladesh, you kind of like want to go back to the UK.
That's not the patriot. That's not not being patriotic to the country. That's being like, you know, patriotic to home. Yeah. I mean that's what I'm used to. Yeah. And you'd always find that. Yeah. But I think it's very glorified in this country, and I think that's where the privilege starts from other people. Like even us, we have that privilege where, like, you know, against others, like, you know, when we go over to like back home, you see loads of people asking you for money and this and that, like, oh, you're from London, you must be rich. Yeah. Bruv, do you know what I mean? We're not rich over here. It's all relative. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yes, you're like, yes, I'm doing better than you, and yes, if I could, I'd do anything. But do you know what I mean? I still need my money. Yeah. And that's the truth of it. Yeah. You know, they glorify this country to be like somewhere where everyone's just making money and living the best life they can. Yeah. Yes, you got the best opportunities, and we're in such a privileged country. Even like compare it to America. Yeah. This country is still more privileged than America. I'd rather be living here with like the legislation, without gun laws and this and that, than ever living in America. No, like
I'm not sure about that one. No, I'm not sure about that. Okay, but I can understand it. But for me personally, I'm not sure.
That's preference, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I see privilege.
But maybe I'm only thinking that because I've never been to America. I'm kind of like I'm looking at all the billionaires rather than looking like at everyone, like the amount of income inequality there.
But I'm trying to talk about, like, you know, I'm seeing the privilege of living in this country, and that's what I'm proud about. Yeah. But am I proud about the country, or am I proud about me just living here? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I know for a fact, I'm it's a good opportunity and I benefit from living here.
Yeah.
But like, would I put a England flag outside my car? Probably not.
Yeah, like I think the way we think is kind of like, we're happy we're here. The values of like the British values we don't really like, we're not really aligned to. So we're kind of grateful to be here, but we're not like, oh yeah, I'd die for England. But like it depends what your vision of patriotic means. In my head, patriotic means like you love your country, you defend it. Yeah, get it up, read it, and I'll tell you like
having or expressing devotion to and vigorous support for one's country.
No, I don't have that. I feel like maybe if I went away, then yeah, but I would say
I have support.
From a British Asian Muslim point of view, do you think you have that?
I think I have support, but am I devoted to the country? No.
Exactly.
I have support.
Because I feel like if you're Muslim and you're British Asian, especially like a boy, like 20 to 30 now, growing up, I don't think you have.
I think to an extent I do, because I know for a fact my family are going to be like my kids are going to be up here.
Yeah.
So I want the best laws they can.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help the country as
well.
But
I feel like you're saying it that like you want a best life for yourself, which makes complete sense.
And that's why
it's like you're kind of using the UK, but you're not like, oh, I want to stay here because I love the UK. You're here because like it's a really good country. Yeah,
and that's it.
Like it's like buying I don't know, PSG bought Icardi. They didn't like him, but they knew he was a good footballer.
Yeah,
like
that's literally
they didn't buy it because they love him. They bought him because like he's
a good footballer.
They bought Neymar because they love him. They don't buy him
with everything that they buy. There's baggage behind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, even though he brings the baggage.
That's kind of what we feel like to UK. Because obviously, like
I don't think and this is the truth, right? Think about this. Do you think that if there weren't racists and you were welcomed into the country and you were seen as British,
100%,
you'd be devoted to it?
100%.
And that's the truth.
100%, because I feel like, obviously, I say this all the time, you are like nurtured and created from your childhood. When you get older, you don't really change that much. You have different experiences, but you don't change. But from my experiences as a child, especially in discovery school, where like I saw like racism and a lot of casual racism a lot.
Yeah, it's casual.
And the school and people like who I thought were like in charge, not doing much about it. From that, really and truly, maybe it shouldn't shape me, but I would never ever feel it. Like I would never feel patriotic, because that's what I had to grow up with, and I would never want my kids to grow up with that.
And like, I think in a way where it's like, when there was like a black kid in school, I'm not talking about my experience. If there was a black kid in school, like so casually, when the lights turned off and we were watching something, someone would be like, "Oh, where's he gone? Where's this?"
Yeah.
And do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's not like. Yes,
it's not okay.
It's not racially motivated. Oh, I want to be racist.
Yeah.
But it's so racist.
It's like a joke you shouldn't really be making.
You wouldn't be making now, and that's the thing, right? And that's why I always question, like, if we really were patriotic, surely we'd be like, you don't see a white guy going to another white guy saying, "You're so pale.
Yeah,
your freckles are so dead."
Yeah.
So, I mean, why are you ginger for?
Yeah.
Other than ginger.
No, I feel like gingers always get it. They'll always get it.
They get it. No, but like, I feel like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You don't get that.
Yeah.
And that obviously that plays an effect on you. Like, bro, why are these men hating on me because of from where I'm like? And I remember, people would be like, "Oh, you're from Bangladesh? Isn't that where they flood all the time?" And And it's not a pub. It's like
it's just yeah. No, I can tell they're trying to be like make a joke, but like
it's like.
It's like, where's the line? It's to be fair, now I feel like with all these protests and stuff, it's really questioned.
What do you think about that though? What do you actually think about like we're on that PC world where like the line was there and now it's went there. Like the line.
What, you think it's gone down?
No, like as in it's being lowered to where the extent of where you can like say things now.
Oh, as in you can say less now.
Like you couldn't go to a black guy now and be like, and I wouldn't, but I'm just saying like kids probably wouldn't be able to get away with saying, "Oh, where's he gone? Where's he gone?"
Yeah,
in the middle of the classroom.
To be fair, I feel like I do think political correctness has gone mad, but you have to be sympathetic to the people that what you're saying, like how it affects other people. And I feel like as a human, you need to realize what you say has an effect on the people that you're saying it to. So if I make a black joke, it's going to affect that black guy for like, you don't know how long. Like there was a couple of statements that these white people said to me in school. They probably just threw it off the cuff, but I still think about it like it's still in my mind now. So you got to kind of think about it like that, but it does kind of hinder what you can and can't say. And it really stops that. That's what I think. But it's for the greater good. And I shouldn't really complain like, oh, these people shouldn't get offended by what I'm saying because I want to say it. Like, that's just so selfish.
And even when we were talking about the statues and this and that, right? And you heard what these people were saying. Like, what did you think about you know how, like, obviously they haven't done their research. You can you know their motives for why, you know, last week when they went in front of the monument and they were protesting, you knew their motives, because at the end of the day, Earl Grey wasn't even for, like,
oh yeah, he like abolished
slavery, and they're acting like we're going to break. What
even, do you know, as in, like, what could we actually do? The thing's like 100 feet in the air. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, take our monument metro? Like, what the? Like, to be fair, they are. I feel like
that was a different motive.
I think that just kind of like. Because obviously they can't go to London, like all these Newcastle lot can't just go to London, so they just found the first.
But they feel like, you know, this is their point of view. They're saying like, oh, we shouldn't, and their point of view wasn't about Earl Grey. What they'd say, oh, we don't want you ruining our statues because they're the only thing we've got about our history and this.
No, I think it's like, it's our statues. You're just here.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is
And that's what
this isn't your country, but you're here. That's what the kind of like.
Do you know what I mean? Like Malcolm X, like I've said it before, Malcolm X has got statues in America.
Yeah,
he doesn't get like, you know, people in America, like. They put a statue of him is because, like, they put him in because he's so influential. Do you know what I mean? To America.
Yeah.
They don't say, oh, yeah, he's an African guy and use our support. He's American,
yeah.
And it's
exactly.
Like, I'm not going to hate on Malcolm X, am I?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. I don't hate Earl Grey. What the fuck? Do you know what I mean? Why would I, like, do you know what I mean?
But I do hate, I'd learned about Edward Colston after that podcast we did. I actually do hate that.
No, and that's the thing, right?
Guys.
Why would you want to keep him
on?
What kind of, that's not patriotic.
Yeah.
Because
like that coconut washed Home Secretary, wasn't it? Pretty Patel.
Yeah.
She was like, I'll put it in. She was like, oh, this sound band, put it in mail.
Her dad's UKIP, you know.
It's like, shut
up. Her dad's UKIP.
It's like these sort of people, they're supposed to be representing us as agents in government, and they're just like not representing.
What's his name? Which one's a baldy guy? Sajid Javid. Sajid Javid.
Majid.
Sajid Javid.
Is that his name?
Yeah, the bald guy. Even him, man.
No, I remember he used to do an LBC show. Me and my mum used to listen to it, and we would literally just look at each other like, this guy's so washed. Like,
he got the diversity call, innit?
Yeah,
he got the diversity.
It's like, oh, we're not racist. We let these Asian people in. We let these black people in. As long as they're whitewashed, then they can get it. It's not like you wouldn't get like a true black person from.
But I don't think I've got any chance, right? I can go to the best uni in the world. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever have a chance of having that authority, especially in this country, because they don't want that.
Yeah,
they're happy to have Priti Patel in, happy to have Sajid Javid in, because, you know, he's a nationalist. He'll support anything, any law, any legislation that's put.
But I think being patriotic is kind of like a flawed concept in itself. Being patriotic and being like a nationalist is a flawed concept in itself, because you have to take everything they say. You're not going to agree with everything your country says. So you should have some sort of like, you shouldn't just blindly accept what they're doing just because they're the government or just because they are your representation for Britain. Like, you should question it, because if you don't question it, then they can just go about and do whatever you want, do what they want with the country that you're supposed to be living in. So I feel like the whole point of being patriotic is a bit flawed. And the people who are kind of patriotic, they have a very what's the word? They've got like
they've got a hidden agenda.
They've got an image of just being like thick yobs. Like, basically they're just thick yobs that go out.
I feel like being patriotic would be fine.
Yeah.
If you were patriotic to the people.
Yeah.
Not to the country.
Yeah.
And not to the image.
But I think if you're patriotic, you are patriotic to the country. So like, because I'm Indian, I'm patriotic to what Gandhi did to get rid of things.
I'm patriotic,
but doesn't mean I'm going to be accept everything Modi does now. Like, I love India, but I hate Modi. I hate the BNP. I hate what they're doing to Muslims. I hate what they're doing to Christians.
You're still patriotic.
Yeah, but I still love that country. Yeah,
exactly, and that's what I'm saying. You have to be patriotic, but understand that, you know, people are like, there's wrong decisions made, and people do get discriminated against, and it hurts.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's the truth of it. Yeah. So, should we just end it?
Yeah,
on this.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
But this is our first one. We're gonna do more, and it's gonna be sick.
Yeah. So more video podcasts, and make sure if you ever have a spare 5 minutes, ever have any spare money, go to Fortune Cookie, the best Chinese food on the West Road. Have a nice.